Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to day 3 of the BatchLeads Masterclass presented by me, RJ Bates III. Looks like we've already got quite a few people in here. Love seeing that. Love seeing all of you guys right on time, 10 a.m. Central. Looking forward to that. I do want to request something. I want to make sure you guys are okay with this. So back when I made the plan for the masterclass, I chose the dates that we would do it. And then my son, he made a travel hockey team for the spring unexpectedly. I didn't even know he was going to try out for it. He did. And so he's actually going to be in a hockey tournament Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And he has a game Friday morning. Okay. Now I'm not going to, the tournament's in Boston and I'm not going to be able to make it, but I would like to watch it. And so the question I have for you guys is on Friday, we're scheduled to go live at 10 a.m. Central. That's when his game's going to be. Are you guys okay if on Friday we bump the start of that game, the start of the master class to 11:30 a.m. Central? Are you guys okay with that? If you guys are okay with that, that would be awesome. It gives me a chance to sit here and watch my son. It's a pretty cool opportunity, guys. He's playing in what's called a Brick Series tournament. And it's the best players his age in the world. So it's going to be cool. So it looks like everybody's cool with that. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me that you guys are willing to work around my schedule there. Miss Angela Long, Angie B, Hearts and Unicorns. I gave Angie's a Titan. She attended the Crucible last year. And I was giving her a hard time yesterday because she was posting some groups. And one of our things is stop searching for unicorns. They don't exist. So good morning, Miss Angie B. Hope you're having a good day. So today, guys, what we're going to go over is, so far what we've gone over is the account setup, the initial text templates, the quick replies. Yesterday, we went ahead and we did our list pulling. Before we get too far into this, I just want to make sure, does anyone have any questions about those? Does anybody have any questions about the list polling that we went over yesterday? Does anybody have any questions about the text templates, the quick replies, or anything like that? And then also, is everyone receiving the emails? I emailed out yesterday the replay of day 2, and it also had the link for day 1. Now, some people got confused because I put a link in there for day 1. The video for day 2 is embedded in the email. It's my face. You just click on it. The little button's black, so it kind of blends in with me a little bit there in my shirt. If you just click on that, that's day 2, and then there's a link for the replay of day 1. If everybody's gotten those, that's good. If you haven't, just hit me in the chat, or you can email me at rj@titaniumprops.com. Just want to make sure that everyone's receiving those. I think yesterday I looked somewhere around 55%, 60% of the emails have been open. So I think almost everybody's getting it. That's a real high open rate. Okay. Also, like Brandon Mick says, you can also view the recordings from within AirMeet. In the top left corner, it says view schedule. If you click on that, you can go back to day 1 or day 2 and you can watch them in there. But those will go away once the event's over. Okay. But the links that I'm emailing you, those videos, those will forever be yours. Okay. Now, the other thing that I wanted to go over is I am going to go back and I'm going to take this entire class. Okay. And without you guys being a part of it or anything like that, I'm going to condense it down into shorter videos, a lot cleaner, where there's no questions, no distractions or anything like that. And then for anyone that has signed up for Batch Leads and was also a part of this class, you'll get those cleaner, more concise recordings. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is signing up for Batch Leads. Okay. I hope everyone at this point in time has at least their free trial account so they can walk through this step by step. We're already 2 days in. We've already got a list pulled. Hopefully you're in the same place, because today we're going to be skip tracing. We're going to do our Twilio integration, and I want to make sure that you're following along So come tomorrow, come Friday, when we start texting, we start comping properties, we're sending out direct mail campaigns, you're following along right beside me, and hopefully you can get a deal. Right here, we've got a question. How many leads does it take to get a deal from sending 500 texts typically? Well, to give you an idea, we just started a campaign in Fayetteville, North Carolina. It took us 366 texts to get a deal. And we have multiple other leads from those 366 texts. Okay. Within the Nebraska campaign that we just ran over the past couple of weeks, it was probably along the same lines. One out of every 250, 300 texts, we were getting a deal out of it. So we have been able to really lower that because we're more strategic in where we're marketing, and then also the list that we're pulling than in comparison to back when I was doing the 50-day challenge where it was taking us like 2,500 texts. Okay. Let's see here. Edgar asked, any feedback on FreedomSoft? Is it any good? I've never used FreedomSoft. I don't know very many people that have used it to great success. So I don't even really quite understand what it is. I think it's just a CRM. So I can't really speak on it because I just don't know anybody, and we haven't used it as well. Okay, and then do you also pull a list for LLCs? Some individuals with 2 or 3 homes use LLCs. No, with the list that I pulled yesterday is the same list that I pull over and over and over again, which is individually owned. We're not going to go over the LLCs because the skip tracing on that is not going to be as accurate. And so we want to just make sure that we're really going after the people that we know we can get in contact with, and then are also going to be highly motivated. And so we don't need to expand our criteria there because we're getting plenty of data with the way that we pull our list. All right. Let's answer a couple more questions before we get started today. Bob asked, what am I using for a CRM? We built out our own CRM on QuickBase. It's really just for lead management. It's not something that we actively sell or anything like that. It was just custom made by ourselves. Okay. How many texts should we send in an hour? Okay, so this is an important question because it's also important as you're sending out text messages that you're spacing it out like you're actually typing out a text message, okay, instead of just hammering it. So I would say if you send out, 5 or 10, wait a couple minutes, send out 5 or 10 more. I don't know about within an hour. We'll probably send out our couple hundred in that hour on Friday when we actually start texting. Okay. Let's see. Braxton asks, what apps, softwares, etc. do you guys use to manage leads for client callbacks and or text messages? Currently using CallRail, but it's not the best. We're just calling from our office phones. We have a phone system here. And then as far as text messages, if we need to, we can text them from our cell phones. But really, we're just trying to get them on the phone at that point, especially if it's a VA lead or a PPC lead. Okay. Let's see. How do you find buyers in all of these different markets? So we use Investor Lift for dispositions. We're a cartel member of that. And if you haven't checked that out, I absolutely think that you should. Promo code Titanium for 10% off. But yeah, it's a very powerful tool, and it's really drastically helped our dispositions. Okay, so all right, last question, and then we're gonna get started. Okay, Ed Long says, do I use a lot of VAs? So we have 10 VAs that we use. They are all cold callers for acquisition. So all of the data that we're pulling inside of Batch Leads, we push that to Batch Dialer. And then the VAs are cold calling that, and that's how we utilize VAs. We do have a couple of other VAs that help with, some social media stuff and stuff like that. But really, when it comes to just the wholesaling and the real estate side of things, it's just a 10 for cold calling. Okay. All right, let's get started. So let me share my screen here. All right, so we're back in our new account here. we see that yesterday we pulled our list of 2,367 properties. Let's go into that properties tab. Want to go ahead and filter it by the list. Okay, now it's very important for you to understand the way that we do our skip tracing. Okay, so right now it's kind of, it seems silly to do it this way, but it's important to start building out your habits on how you do things the same way every single time. So when you come into the filter on the properties tab, you're going to select the list that you want to skip trace, and then you're going to go to skip traced, no. Okay, you're always going to filter it that way. The reason why I want to do this is because I want to know the specific number that we are skip tracing. So in this, it's going to be all 2,367 properties. Okay. Now imagine if this was the fourth or fifth list that we had pulled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. At that point in time, there's going to be properties that exist on the list that we just pulled that previously existed on other lists that we pulled. Okay. So this list might be 2,300 people, but maybe we're only skip tracing 1,800 because, you know, they're already, those 500 people, those 500 properties already were in our system and we already skip traced. Now, let me clarify this. You would not be charged for the skip tracing of those 500 records if they were already skip traced. But I want to know the specific number of new data that we're getting from the skip tracing on this prior to skip tracing it. Because if it's not enough, then I know I need to go back to the list search and I need to add more properties to it because I'm not getting enough data. I'm not getting enough fresh data to get us to that 2,000 and 3,000, the sweet spot to run a campaign. So that's why I do it this way. Okay. And again, this comes down to making sure that you have standards and your processes for your business. If you do it the same way every single time, and there's an understanding of why you're doing it, that's what leads to success. Okay. So we have our 2,367 selected. We're going to go to actions. We're going to go to skip trace. And then what are we going to name it? Can anybody in the chat real quick tell me what we would name this? So it's important to understand the reasoning why we have a system or a process and the way that we name things over and over and over again. So yes, Fort Wayne, Indiana acquisitions, close. That's almost it, right? So it's going to be Fort Wayne, Indiana, hyphen, acquisitions, hyphen, absentee, and then the date. Okay. This is very important. Okay. The thing that drives me crazy is when someone comes in here and they want to change the process. I'm a stickler all the way down to I'm not okay with it being that. No, we type in the full date. Okay. The full year. Okay. We need to make sure that we're typing out everything in here. I don't want to use any abbreviations because that leads it to someone else could think the abbreviation for acquisitions is different than someone else. And now we don't have uniformity in the way that we're doing things. Okay. So total cost of this is $284.04. This account is set up as 12 cents. Now our main account is set up for 10 cents, but for the sake of this class, I'm going to go ahead and skip trace this. So we don't have any money in our wallet. Okay. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I'm going to have to put my credit card in there. But the main thing to understand here is the way that we're setting up our BatchLeads account is your wallet is only going to be used for skip tracing. Okay. Your Twilio account, that's where you're going to be paying for your phone numbers, and that's where you're going to be paying for the actual text messages that are being sent and received. Okay. So don't come in to your BatchLeads account and drop $1,000 if you don't plan on spending $1,000 in skip tracing, because that money is non-refundable. Once it goes into your account, it's there and it's to be used only for skip tracing. Okay, so I want to make sure that that's understood right there. Okay. Juan wants to know, do we filter using the tags prior to skip tracing? You can, okay. And I'll go back to that here in a second. But in the case of this list that I pulled of 2,367 records is what right in my sweet spot of the size of a list that I want for a campaign. So I'm not going to filter it down. I'm not going to niche it down anymore because I'm good with the size of the list. The only time I would niche it down is, say I'm going to a market like Phoenix, Arizona, and based off of the criteria that I entered, my list is very large, like 7,000 to 8,000 records. Maybe I don't want to spend $700 to $800 on skip tracing, so I'm going to niche it down even more. That's where I would filter by the amount of tags, or maybe I would choose specific tags that I want to be included from that filter option, and I would niche it down to get to 2,500 records. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and enter my information here. I should have done this before, but this is the thing about going live. It's not always going to be perfect. So let me enter this in real quick. All right. Let me share my screen again. Maybe not. It says no such customer. Why would it say that? Oh, you know what? It's because I entered my email. 2 seconds. There we go. All right. So now that we're here, we're going to go ahead and rename this Fort Wayne, Indiana, acquisitions, absentee, today's date. We've got our $300 that we put in. It's cost us $284.04. And then we're going to skip trace that. Okay. Now, after you've done that, it would go to the skip trace tab. And you will see here's your list name. There's the total amount of records. And it's currently processing. When that's done, it will show us the total amount of hits, the hit percent. If there were matches, this is where it would show you, hey, you already had some properties that were in here that were previously skip traced. So we found these as matches. It would show you how much you saved on that. Then it shows you the total amount of cost. And then you could always download the Excel spreadsheet of those skip trace results. Okay. Are there any questions in regards to this process? Pretty simple, right? Braxton Richardson says, can you use a discount code on top of a skip tracing plan? Not inside of BatchLeads. It's the lowest you could get is 10 cents. Now, if you went to batch skip tracing, you could use a promo code titanium one time to get 15% off, but then you would have to download that, upload it into your BatchLeads. And really, it's just kind of silly to do it that way. I would just do, hey, you're on the list for 14 cents, or you're on the plan for that. What you need to do is reverse engineer how many records are you going to be skip tracing over the next 30 days. And does it make sense for you to pay more for the monthly? Because there's a barrier where once you start skip tracing enough, it makes sense to pay the higher amount to save on the skip tracing. Okay, so that's the reverse engineer that you need to do there. Okay. Exactly what I just said, Bob. Just reverse engineer it and see, like, hey, I'm going to skip trace 10,000 records. So that means I'm going to spend $1,000 If I'm at the 10 cent, if I'm at the 14 cents, that's $1,400. And so just reverse engineer that and see how much that costs. Okay. So someone asks, can you show us how to niche it down? I was pulling Houston, Texas. I can absolutely do that while we're waiting on the skip trace results. We go back to the properties tab. We go to our filter. Okay. The first thing that we do is we select our list. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do to filter it down, you've got multiple options. I'm going to show you two. Okay. Because these are the two that I will mainly do at one. And I think this will be most beneficial for you when you are trying to niche down specifically in, say, like Houston, Texas. Okay. First thing that you can do is add the absentee filter on top. Okay. So we've got 2,367 records in here. If we just apply the filter of absentee, it lowers us down to 1,091. Okay. So there's number one way that you can niche it down. The second way you can niche it down is by your tag count. Okay. You could go here and say, I want 2 or more tags. You could apply that filter, and that gives us 362 records. Okay. So these are the ways, the quickest and most efficient ways for you to niche down your list after you've pulled a large one in a big metropolis like Houston, Texas. Okay. There's other ways to do it in there, but honestly, those are going to be the best ways for you to do it, because the other ways you're getting very specific on what you're trying to target. And I don't ever want to eliminate just based off my own feelings or my own emotions. Like, hey, I don't want to include tax defaults tags. Well, then we probably shouldn't have pulled that, So that is the best ways for you to niche it down. Okay. Let's see. Lionel Cade says, how many phone numbers should we purchase in each market? Well, funny you ask. Let's do that real quick. That's the next step in the class, Lionel. So here we go. Let's go set up our Twilio. Okay. For everyone that doesn't understand why I'm now on Twilio, this is the third-party integration that you're going to need. Okay. And you have choices. You could do Twilio, you could do Plevo, you could do SignalWire. We solely use Twilio. Okay. So that's why I'm going to show you this. Okay. So all I've done so far is I just signed up under my acquisition guys, because this is his account, Royce. Okay. I haven't done anything. So I just went through and added his name and the email and created a password, and there's nothing else done. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to upgrade. Okay. I've already got my address typed in here. No, I'm not exempt from sales or telecom tax. I need to fund my account. Put $100. Okay. Now, unfortunately, you don't get to know my credit card on this either. So let me go ahead and type that in real quick. I'm putting $100 in here for my phone numbers and the text messages that I'm going to be sending out. That's what I'm funding this account for. All right. Share the screen again. All right. So amount funded, $100. Let's go back to the main page here. Oh, really? Oh, this is cute. Well, now that I've upgraded it, it's going to make me do the two-factor authentication. Hey, will you go get Royce, Brittany? Yeah. And tell him to bring his cell phone. Okay. 2 seconds while we go grab Mr. Royce so we can get that from him. In the meantime, Mark says, when you start texting skip trace lists, how deep does the system go in the list? Example, the first three numbers. Well, your example is the correct answer. It is the first three numbers of that list. I'm going to show you how the batch system kind of eliminates us hitting that third phone number, because really that third phone number is like the last ditch effort. According to Evo at Batch, what he told me during the 50-day challenge was the first number is going to be the correct number, like low 90% of the time. The second phone number is going to be right like 5% of the time. And then that third phone number is going to be right like 1% of the time. But they have a verify owner button that once you click that, it eliminates you texting any other phone numbers associated with that address. So that's a cool feature that the BatchLeads system has that kind of helps you eliminate, wasting your text, wasting your marketing dollars on the wrong phone numbers. Okay.
You just need to
I do.
What? Not here. Apparently, they went to the store.
Okay.
So I'm going to call them.
Yeah, I need that verification code. Royce went to the store, so let's wait on him for a second. In the meantime, let's check on our skip trace results while we're waiting on that. So we'll go to our skip trace. We see here that we submitted 2,367 records. We got a total of 2,317 hits, a 97.89% hit rate. Obviously, we had no matches since this is the first time we skip trace. Cost us $278, and our average hit rate now is 98%. It will also keep a running tab of how much you've spent on skip tracing and how many records you submitted and the total hits that you got. Okay. Now, on the far right here, this little megaphone says push the campaign. This is one of the ways that you can create a campaign, but I do not want you guys using this because of the way that we skip trace. Okay. The way that we send that. Okay. You got the verification code? Nice. Thank you. 875. All right. All right, let's go back here and let me finish my thought. All right. When we skip trace, remember, we went to the list, we filtered it by the list, and then we said skip trace no. So if that list had previously included skip trace results, if you just went here and you pushed the campaign, it would only push the brand new skip trace results. It's not going to include anything that you had previously skip traced on that list. So I want you to go back to properties. I want you to go to filter. I want you to select your list. Now you go to skip trace yes and apply that filter. So using the example that I used earlier, which was, say the list was 2,300, but only 1,800 of them had not been skip traced. If you push from the skip trace screen, you're missing out on those 500 records that you had previously skip traced. If you come back to the properties tab and you do it this way, it's going to include those 500 records. So now we would be pushing 2,253 records. Okay. So that's what we've selected, our 2,253. We're going to go to actions. We're going to go to add to campaign, SMS. We're going to create a new campaign. What are we going to name it? We're going to name it the same thing that we name everything else. Wayne, Indiana, acquisitions, absentee, today's date. Okay. We then select our market. Remember, this is the first thing that we did on day one. We set up our market, Fort Wayne, Indiana. The time zone. The time zone needs to be where you're texting, not where you reside. Okay. Don't be the asshole sending someone a text message at 9 p.m. because you selected your time zone. Okay. So Indiana is a central time zone. The only other thing that we could do here is if this account had multiple users, we would select that user. This account's only going to have one user, so it's fine to leave that there. And then the personal preference, if you want to scrub against the national DNC list, the do not call list, this is where you would select yes, okay? We do not do that when we're sending text messages, okay? That's our choice. That's our risk that we're willing to take, okay? I'm not going to advise you to do it the same way that I do it. I'm just going to tell you what I do, okay? I'm going to save those changes. We don't need to add any tags because we've already tagged everything appropriately, so we skip that. And now our data is the upload is in progress, and it'll take probably, I don't know, 2-3 minutes for this to be set up, okay? Now, we have to integrate our SMS account, which is what we're doing in Twilio. So let's go back to our Twilio account, okay? Now, I see we don't have very many questions so far. I know I'm going through this fairly quickly. So if you guys have questions about a specific step that I'm going through, feel free to drop them in the chat, okay? Just want to make sure that we understand how to set up the campaign and why we're doing it that way. Now, going back to our Twilio, hey, the first thing that you need to do is get a trial phone number. Okay, we've got a trial phone number. Boom. Now, come here to our account SID. We need to go to our profile, and we need to go to integrations. We are going to integrate with Twilio, okay? So we need our Twilio account SID, which is right here. We copy, paste. We need our, I guess that's authorization token, okay? We copy that. We paste. Let's go ahead and Twilio messaging service ID. What is this? Hey, go grab Patrick.
Okay.
I'm forgetting a step. Even I need help sometimes. This is why I have a team. Let me ask Patrick what this is right here, because I'm not understanding what it's asking me. The last time I did this, which was a while ago, probably close to a year, it didn't have that. So I want to understand what it is. So, does anybody have any questions about this process so far? It's pretty simple to this point. Benjamin asks, why don't you tag the campaign numbers as texted? Why don't you tag the campaign numbers as texted? I'm not sure I understand that question, Benjamin. Can you ask me again? Another way? What is the Twilio messaging service ID?
The Twilio messaging service ID is the ID that you need to put in there for your actual messages to go out. So that's really the platform on Twilio where your messages will go out. Your ID represents that you're authorized to send third-party SMS messages through their system. And where that, are you trying to find out where that is?
Yeah, where is it?
Okay, so go to messaging.
Okay.
Go.
Oh, hold on, let me show my screen. They're like, yeah, we want to see too.
Right.
Okay, messaging.
Messaging, go to services.
Okay.
And then click on that.
Yeah.
And now go to properties. Boom. So that is it. You click copy, integrate that back over to Batch, and you know what to do with the rest.
That right there.
That's it.
Boom. Please enter credential and save it. Why did I save that?
Should be the check mark.
Ah,
There it is.
I'll turn it on, right?
Yep. And do you know what to do?
Yep.
You,
All right.
You taught me. What are you talking about?
Hey, man.
They changed it so much. It's like I told multiple people. They changed this thing.
Listen,
Twilio multiple times.
sometimes you know, when you got 500 people watching you do something, you get a little bit nervous.
Right.
All right,
All right.
activate.
Yes. Let me know if you need something.
All right. So Juan, just remember, Juan, it'll be on replay, okay? But I will walk you through that one more time. But remember, you can always go back, and I recommend you do this on almost all of this. If you have questions, go back and you can watch it on YouTube, which is the link I'm giving you, and you can watch it. And then when I do something, pause and then do it, and then hit play, watch, and then just kind of stair step your way through the process. But yeah, let me try that one more time. Okay. Do you have a code for Twilio? No, I don't. And they don't need affiliates. Okay. So let's go back to the regular, your console is what they call it. Okay. So to find that last thing, you go to messaging, services. You would create a messaging service right here. I had already done it. All I'd done was click create messaging service and named it SMS marketing. Okay. So we click on that and then we would go to properties and then just copy this right here, the messaging service SID. Okay. So fairly simple process from that aspect. It's 3 copy and paste and you're good. Okay. Alexander, the name of the YouTube channel is RJ Base III. You should definitely subscribe to it. But all of these videos will be emailed to you, and it'll just be like today, you'll get the email. You should have already received 2, and it'll be an embedded YouTube video on the email. Okay. What does your marketing sequence look like for texting, cold calling, and direct mail? We're right there. We're getting to it. Okay. So, I see. Benjamin's question was, if you're marketing the same area multiple times, do you exclude numbers that you already texted? Absolutely not. Okay. Just because they told me on January 20th that they don't want to sell their house, it doesn't mean that they don't want to sell their house on May 20th. And funny enough, what we've actually seen with the way that we do our marketing, and it's so consistent, we've actually been able to see inside of our system that Robert got told no, Josh got told no, but then for whatever reason inside of the same week, Justin got told yes. And then we bought the house and made a fee. So it's funny how the world works. It could be timing. It could be the initial text that they receive. There's a lot of different reasons as to why that would change. But you have to think about it. People are busy and it's so easy to ignore a text message. And so that's why we're so frequently hitting them. But again, we're nationwide. And if you're in a specific market, that's going to be a little bit different because you would be hitting that same person over and over and over again. Whereas for us, it's a little bit less common for us to just be, land blasting them like every other day. Okay. All right. So let's go back to batch here. So we have our Twilio account SID in, the token, the service ID, and we've turned that on and everything's saved. So we are now integrated with Twilio. Okay. I want to go back to my campaign, see what it's telling me now. We don't have any phone numbers in this market. Click here to purchase it. Okay. Now we could just click there, but I want to show you go to profile, go to SMS settings, and now we're in the phone manager. Okay. So I want to purchase phone numbers. I want to select Twilio as the provider, Fort Wayne, Indiana as the market. I want 5 phone numbers. I want local phone numbers. Submit the request. I understand this cannot be undone. Boom. We just ordered 5 phone numbers. That'll take a couple minutes for that to process through Twilio. So in the meantime, I'll answer some questions. Tiffany says, how are you texting so many times a week? I thought you had to wait 15 days before texting someone again if they don't respond. Great question. Okay. Again, understand, I have a batch account for each one of my acquisitions managers. So Josh and Justin are not on the same batch system. Okay. Now, I will also let you know I'm working with batch where we get this where it's not going to be separate accounts. Okay. Just a little FYI. There's going to be some cool changes coming up in the future. But right now, what I'm setting up is one of my acquisition guys, Royce, his account. This is going to be the account that he uses. I have my main account where all of my data is stored. I will pull the data there. I will export it out and then import it into his account and allow him to text. Now, he might be working a Fort Wayne, Indiana account or campaign, okay? And then at the same time, I might say I want to run a nationwide, okay, this is what the list would be called, nationwide acquisitions pre-foreclosure today's date, okay? And now that means if it's nationwide and it's all of the pre-foreclosures, it's going to include all the pre-foreclosures in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So that means one person is going to be texting Fort Wayne, Indiana. Another person is going to be texting nationwide all of the pre-foreclosures. That means those people are going to be sent 2 text messages from Titanium Investments, but from 2 separate accounts, 2 separate phone numbers, 2 separate names. Everything will be separated, and they really won't know that it's coming from Titanium Investments. And so that is how we're texting people multiple times over and over again. Okay. Yes, Bob, I want you to get 5 phone numbers per market, but also the other thing that I want you to understand is that when you get the 5 phone numbers, really those phone numbers should only exist for the length of that campaign. We don't want to buy phone numbers and hold on to them forever, okay? Because you're opening yourself up for those phone numbers eventually to be marked as spam. So for us, we might purchase 5 phone numbers for Nebraska. We'll run that entire campaign. Typically, after a couple of days of the campaign being completed, no one's going to be reaching back out to you, okay? And especially with the way that we do our marketing flow, we're going to reach back out to them before they reach back out to us through a different campaign. So we'll kill those phone numbers and buy new ones, okay? Brandon asks, at what point are you rotating? Well, there you go. I just answered that. Once batch shows as potential spam, sometimes I've had numbers and without sending a message, batch will show as spam. So you have to understand, it's not necessarily that batch is showing it as spam. It's that the number was already marked as spam and someone dropped it and then it just happened to be the phone number that you purchased. Okay. So that's the reality of the situation that we're in with SMS marketing and cold call marketing with the carriers. Okay. They're trying to eliminate our ability to be able to do this type of marketing. And so, yeah, there's going to be a time where you just purchase some phone numbers and they immediately get marked as spam. And that sucks, but it costs you $1 and you drop it and you get another one. Okay. All right. Naveen says, if you give up phone numbers, doesn't it impact follow-up texts? Yes, that's what I'm saying. When the campaign is finished, and you know that you are no longer going to be reaching out to them, that's when you kill the phone numbers, okay? And again, you want to be, we don't do follow-up campaigns, okay? It's always going to be with fresh data, tacking on the older data, or doing what I was talking about where we're going nationwide campaign, and it's based off the motivating factor or the amount of tags. So nationwide acquisitions, vacant. Nationwide acquisitions, 3 or more tags. Nationwide acquisitions, bankruptcy, plus 3 tags, right? So we're niching it down and we're targeting them that way, as well as within the city. Fort Wayne, Indiana acquisitions absentee, which is all of that data. Hopefully that answered that for you. Can you check the health of SMS numbers? Yes. So let me show you that real quick because that's where we're at. We should have our phone numbers now. So I refresh my screen. So right here, the reputation, Bob, is where it shows you. It shows that it's safe. You could also pause numbers if you want to. It shows you the age of the phone numbers, the total amount of initial text that you sent. And here's the important thing, Naveen, about your question. You could also see the last time you sent a text message with this phone number, and also the last time that you received a text message to this phone number. And the reason why that would be important is maybe you're done with the campaign, but you have a property under contract, and the only way that you've ever communicated with that seller is through SMS, and it's through this phone number. So you don't want to kill that phone number, right? That would be silly. You could come in here and you can check, hey, we're actively texting someone. They, last time we received the text message was today. So you don't kill that phone number. You leave that one, and you can trash and delete the other ones that are no longer being used. Okay. Does Batch auto swapped out numbers when they determine the health is bad? No, because again, you're not buying the phone numbers from Batch. You're buying them from Twilio. You're just doing it inside of the Batch app. Okay. But the phone numbers are actually being purchased right here on your Twilio account. So that's important to understand. The money that you're putting in your Twilio account is for phone numbers and your actual text messages being sent out. The money that is inside of your BatchLeads account is only for skip trace data. Okay. So even though it feels like you're buying your phone numbers from Batch, you're not. You're buying them from Twilio. Okay, I want to make sure that's very clear. So Batch isn't going to do anything other than tell you, hey, the reputation of this phone number is spam. You should check that on a daily basis. Come in, make sure your phone numbers are good, maybe even multiple times during the day, especially if you're in the middle of a campaign, and just verify that your numbers are good. Okay, so let's go check out our campaign and make sure we're all set up and we're good to go. Okay. So now at this point in time, we go to campaigns, SMS campaigns. We see we've got our campaign Fort Wayne, Indiana, acquisitions absentee, today's date. Shows us that we have 2,059 available. Okay. Now, here's the question that a lot of people asked is, why are there 1,200 records suppressed? Okay. So this is part of the BatchLeads algorithm AI that's coming in, and it's trying to suppress phone numbers that we know are, most recently put on the DNC, the people that have been text messaged through the BatchLeads account, other accounts that have opted out, people that would not be interested in landlines. All these things are getting suppressed over here. So it helps you in your marketing dollars that you're not texting people and wasting the text. And obviously it's more the text. It used to be back in the day, hey, it's saving your marketing dollars. But now it's all about, the amount of text messages that I'm sending out is the most important part for me. And so I don't want to text these 1,200 people if I know they're automatically going to opt out or say, fuck off. Okay. So we click into here, and we are ready to go. The only thing that we would need to do is select our template, which is primary, which this is the initial text templates that we entered in, okay? And we see right there, hi, Frederick, I tried giving you a call. Did you receive my voicemail? That's one of our text templates. It's ready to go. There's his name. There's the address, the phone number. Everything is set up and good to go. So we are ready to begin our first text campaign. Do we have any questions about this process? If we don't, the next steps for tomorrow are going to be, we are going to go over setting up a direct mail campaign. Okay, very similar to what we just did. We are going to go over the comping tool so we can be prepared for when we start sending out text and we start comping. And then we might even send out some text messages. Brandon asked, will you be going over how you do your KPIs? Absolutely. We will be doing that on Friday when we're actually sending out text messages and we can see some KPIs there. We will for sure go over that. I might even dive into one of our other batch accounts so you guys can take a sneak peek at what those numbers look like. Why is there no opt-out in the message? Oh, Mark, you must have never watched my 50-day challenge. So when I started the 50-day challenge, Opt-out language was not a thing. Okay, that was not part of it. And I think it was probably like day 10 of the 50-day challenge is when they added opt-out language. Okay. So here I am. I'm trying to do 50 deals in 50 states in 50 days. Okay. Now, legitimately, this was like, I'm a highly competitive person. So when I came out and I said I was going to do this, I really wanted to accomplish this. Okay. And so I'm super focused on what I'm doing. And I'm thinking, man, this is, the feedback's pretty good. And, people are watching. And I think people this would be a really awesome opportunity to watch someone do this all day, every day. They can come watch me in their home market and stuff like that. And it became where everyone was coming on my lives and all they wanted to talk about was opt-out language. And so I became so passionate about why are we worried about the opt-out language? I can't believe that we're worried about this. I'm literally sitting here clicking the buttons over and over and over again, and I'm getting deals. And you're so worried about whether or not it has opt-out language. Is there a way? Can I just go into the little box and delete it? To answer your question, Mark, I don't know why there's not opt-out language. I don't. And I will never ask Batch why there's not. Some text messages, they have it. Some of them don't. I'm sure there's a reason why. The carrier on this is Cellco partnership. Maybe that's because they know it doesn't have to be there. And maybe when we text someone with AT&T, they know it does. What I am extremely focused on is being a better real estate investor and just understanding my processes, understanding how I'm doing this, and understanding how we can get more deals over and over and over again. And so I just don't really get wrapped up in that. That's my long-winded answer to that question. Brandon says, I believe Twilio adds it on the back end. I don't think, if it's not showing up here, it's not going to send the text message with it on there. I will say that because you will see the opt-out message before. Sharon asked, do you prefer Twilio numbers over batch leads to purchase? Okay. Let me reiterate something. Everybody pay attention, okay? I know you're busy. I know we're approaching an hour, okay? You're not buying phone numbers. You cannot buy phone numbers from Batch Leads. You're only buying it from your third-party integration. So that's Twilio, Plevo, SignalWire. I showed you how to integrate with Twilio. If you integrate with Twilio, you're only buying phone numbers from Twilio, okay? What phone numbers do you use for the nationwide campaign? We used to use toll-free numbers, but now we use local phone numbers, and we'll use them local to where we are. And so from there, they ask, why are you texting me from a Fort Worth phone number? Well, that's where our headquarters is. Oh, well, why would you want to buy a house in Atlanta, Georgia? Because I'm a real estate investor. I'm looking to buy houses in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you have a house that you want to sell, or do you want to talk about, well, I have an 817 phone number? Just cut right through that shit. Okay. Are you going to go over batch dialer best practices and the order that you text then call? So for us, I'll go over the marketing flow right now. I'm not going to go over batch dialer in this masterclass because this is solely on batch leads. Batch dialer would need its own separate one. And I'm probably going to do that to show you guys how I use batch dialer, but that's going to need its own, couple of days. But the order that right now, what we do is we are going to pull always the local list first. So Fort Wayne, Indiana, we're going to text through that. Okay. When we're done with that, we're going to take that data and we're going to push that to batch dialer. And then we're going to cold call it. And then simultaneously, while we're doing that, we'll run a nationwide campaign on the motivating criteria. So nationwide acquisitions liens, okay? So that would include all of the liens for Fort Wayne as well as everywhere else in the country. And then we'll take that and we'll push that to the dialer. And then we do that over and over and over again. So right now, I've got 5 campaigns going on in local areas for cold calling. And then I've got 5 nationwide campaigns going on motivating factors. So Those motivating factors would be liens, tired landlords, bankruptcies, auction, and I believe pre-foreclosure, which that one's probably performing the least right now. And then we've got the local ones, like we've got Nebraska, we've got Pennsylvania, we've got the New England states, and then I think we've got a couple in Texas. Okay. There's a lot of lien types. Do you select any or do you do all of the liens? I know. Listen, liens is popping for us right now, so I don't want to niche that down whatsoever. We want to hit that entire list. Okay. Tiffany asks, if I've uploaded a list already in Batch and then I skip trace it from a different provider, if I upload the skip list to Batch, will it merge the two? If I've uploaded a list in Batch, is the list that you uploaded in Batch skip trace? Or are you saying if you upload something that's already got phone numbers, that just depends on how you map it out. If you upload it and you map it out to include the phone numbers, then it's going to be there. But it's never going to merge the two unless it's the same address. And then it will update the address based off the most recent upload. I wouldn't upload a non-skip trace list because you can just pull it inside a Batch, especially if it's not skip trace, because then you're just going to skip trace it inside a Batch. I guess you could if you really wanted to. I just don't necessarily see the benefit, but I'm sure there could be a reason. Do you do driving for dollars? How do you name it, tag it, and save it in Batch Leads? Not really. I mean, we have Batch driven just in case. You know, I would say we probably get maybe 2 or 3 deals a year from Batch driven. It's just not necessarily a huge part of our business right now. But we name it, tag it, and save it the same as everything else. Yeah. So with the liens, I guess you just buy the property and pay the lien. Yep. Lien gets paid at closing. We have prepaid through another skip trace provider for the year. Oh, that sucks. We do a lot of direct mail, and I had to upload the list pre-skip just to organize and tag it. So yeah, so you put the list in the Batch, you organized it, and now you want to export it out to get it skip traced and then import it back in. And just so you know, that's one of the benefits of Batch Leads. Like what you're doing right now, you're going to lose data that way, just to kind of FYI. Anytime you export and import in, so there's going to be a certain amount that just doesn't transfer over. So that's one of the huge benefits. Like, for example, PropStream. If you pull a list inside of PropStream, you can't do shit on PropStream. You can't text, you can't cold call, you can't do anything. It's just, they don't even have comps now. I mean, it's just a walking zombie of a program nowadays. And so you're always going to have to export that data out and do something with it. You're going to have to push it somewhere else. The beautiful thing about the Batch system is if I want to send direct mail, I'm right there. I can do it. If I want to send text messages, I can do it. If I want a cold call, I can just push it to the Batch dialer. And I don't have to worry about the systems not communicating correctly or it not being mapped out correctly. And so that's why I'm such a huge proponent of this. It's one of the massive benefits. And also the speed and efficiency. Oh my God, just the waiting on the exporting, the importing, and all of that. That's why I'm big on now if we have to have multiple accounts, it's like, listen, Batch, you got to be able to fix this where the speed and efficiency is the name of the game, right? And for us, we're running so many different campaigns that just the small little importing and exporting that we were doing was slowing us down. So that's why I talked to them about changing that for us. Okay. Brandon says, RJ, yesterday you mentioned I should not reorganize my 150K Batch database until today. Yes, let me do that for you. So let me share my screen. Couple of things. Let's go to properties, okay? The first thing that you want to do here, Brandon, is you're not going to filter it at all, okay? Because you want all of your data to be here. I want you to go down to each one of these that make sense to you, that are actual motivating factors, okay? So for example, bankruptcy, select that, select all of them, go to actions, go to tags, add the bankruptcy tag. Okay. And then you're going to add free and clear, liens, auction, pre-foreclosure. You don't need corporate owned, unknown equity. You want, don't do low equity. Low equity is not a motivating factor. Okay. High equity, you can do that. Tired landlord, vacant. Don't do recently sold. Don't do pending. Don't do active. Okay. Everything else, you should tag it. So now everything is appropriately tagged. You tracking with me? Okay. The next thing that you want to do is data management lists. You can come into your list, click this, and rename it. Okay. You might not know the dates, but at least you could create a system there of, I would just create them today's date. Okay. So if you have, 100 lists or 5 lists, go in there, name it what it should be. Fort Wayne, Indiana, acquisitions, absentee, boom, today's date. So that way, your data is organized. Okay. You've got everything tagged correctly, and you've got all of your lists named somewhat correctly. Maybe the dates won't be correct, and maybe you could reverse engineer it and try to figure out what those dates should have been. But that would be the cleanest and most efficient way for you to clean up your data. Okay. Edgar says, do you do sub 2 or other creative dealing, or do you stick with wholesaling? Yeah, we absolutely do all of that. I live in a property that I bought sub 2. Cassie lives in a property that we bought sub 2. I've got probably close to 25 seller finance deals that I've seller financed. Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of that. So just because I ain't got a hat with the peace sign on it doesn't mean I don't do it. All right. Bob, so for local lists, text through once, then dial through once, then you're done. Then skip that same local list 3 months later. Okay. So for local lists, you text it, then you cold call it. Then you should be going back and you should be doing another campaign based off the motivating factor. Hopefully you're marketing to multiple cities. Ideally, you're not just stuck in one market. And if you are, then you should think about expanding out. I mean, you're in Wilmington, Delaware. I mean, you're in stomping grounds of some great lush wholesaling markets around you. So you should be hitting, your entire state. You should be hitting parts of Maryland. You should be hitting parts of Virginia, especially for wholesaling. And you should be rotating that. There's nothing holding you back from marketing to multiple markets there. Okay. So that's what's going to help you be more efficient with your data. All right. Let's see. Okay. So you're working in multiple areas. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, you should just be rolling that data. And then again, so say you pull a list in Wilmington, Delaware, you text it today. The next time you come back to Wilmington, Delaware, you're going to pull the new list, add that first, and then you're going to add the previous data on the back side of that. And so you're just constantly rotating it. And then you're going to hit it with the motivating factors as well. Okay. All right. I think that we should be good. We've just breached a little bit over an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Tomorrow, we will start again at 10 a.m. Central. We're going to do direct mail campaign setup tomorrow, as well as go over the comping tool on how we're going to use that. Make sure that we're all set up for Friday. We might even do a little bit of texting tomorrow just to get a little bit of a head start on our campaign there. Okay. Last question. Ed Long says, what's the process of finding a buyer to go out to see the place and buy it out of town? Okay. So for us, say we locked up a property in Wilmington, Delaware. First thing that we're going to do is our recon phase. So that's either we're going to get pictures from the seller, or we're going to hire a photographer, or someone's going to go out and give us pictures of the property so we can verify the condition. Okay. Make sure that what we thought it was, it really is. Okay. Then at that point in time, we're going to upload those pictures into Investor Lift. We're going to create our property page. We're going to blast it out to all of our cash buyers as well as all of the skip trace buyers that we have in that area. You typically send that out to roughly 7,000 people on the initial round. And then we're going to then start cold calling the top buyers in that area based off their buyer score. And depending on, hey, is it vacant? Is it tenant occupied? Is it owner occupied? There's different inspections, that we have to do there, right? Vacant is obviously the easiest. We just get a lockbox put on the property, and then they can go out and see it at their own will. Tenant occupied, probably the most burdensome as far as dispositions goes, because you're having to schedule through the owner as well as the tenant and verifying it. And then owner occupied, really not that bad, because you can just explain to the seller, like, hey, we need to come out. We've got to do our walkthrough. So yeah, that's just the process. Again, don't overthink it too much there. Someone asked, what's your code for Investor Lift? I don't know. I haven't really given it to many people. Let me see. Investor Lift affiliate program. Let's see what I got here. Batch is going to get mad at me. I'm going to say, why are you selling other people's shit on the Batch Leads? There you go. There's a link for Investor Lift. Okay. That being said, at the end of the day, I know that there's people watching this that haven't signed up for the Batch Leads account. Okay. Don't waste your time watching all this and don't pull the trigger on Batch Leads. Okay. Please, for the love of God. I'm not bullshitting you. Okay. Batch doesn't pay me enough money to just come on here and spend all this time. And it's because of the amount of money that I make from the deals. Okay. This is the most powerful tool in all of real estate investing. And I'm just telling you, sign up for your account. You get it free. And you can also get half off your first month if you use promo code Titanium. Let's see. What's the new time for Friday session? We're going to do, let me verify. I believe it's going to be 11:30 Central. 11:30 a.m. Central. I'll make sure everybody knows, and I'll also put it in the schedule. I just want to verify that the time that they gave us is Eastern time because he's playing in Boston. But I just want to make sure the app that I'm on, they didn't automatically change the time because I'm in Central time zone. Okay. So that being said, we're going to wrap up today with one last Titanium Crucible video. And listen, if you don't understand this video, you need to go watch the movie There Will Be Blood. This is our whole business motto here at Titanium Investments. I come into Wilmington, Delaware, and I drink Bob's milkshake. I come in, I take 3 deals, and I say, I'll see you in 6 months. That's what I'm talking about when I say I'll drink your milkshake.
My straw and your milkshake, and I drank your milkshake.
You can get chewed up and spit out if you don't understand these things.
Go drink your milkshake.
Are you prepared to do what it takes to get what you want?
There's money in this room. There's millions of dollars in this room. Networking.
It's about consistent, intentional, tactical action.
I'm on a mission to make something change in my environment. It's going to give me what I want, and I'm obsessed about it.
It's the Crucible! Oh, this is what we do.
That's my favorite video for the Crucible. I'm just saying. I don't know what I was saying when I said, oh, this is what we do. But it's my favorite part. I love it. I wish I could recreate that moment all the time. Just so you know, the Crucible is not that intense, okay, all the time. We don't actually have burning fire where we're hammering it, okay? It is a real estate event, but it is a lot of fun. And we are intense people. In case you didn't know, I think you know that. That's why you're watching me. So anyway, if you're interested in learning more about the Crucible, titaniumcrucible.com, reach out. It's June 2nd and 3rd. The next one is July 21st and 22nd. And then after that, September 1st and 2nd. All right, guys. There's my boy, Mark Boyd. Become a Titan. Mark became a Titan. So love it, guys. The milkshake technically makes sense, but haha. Hey, it's our whole thing. We stick our straw in your milkshake. I love sticking my straw in Carlos Reyes' milkshake and drinking his milkshake. Okay. All right, guys. Y'all have a great day. We'll see y'all tomorrow.